This is Carrie and Summer with the Say My Name podcast that gives a voice to women's stories. It's my story, it's your story, it's our stories of pain and healing.
Betrayal doesn't begin to describe the knife that I pull out of my side. So I'ma put the past behind me, 'cause I got strength inside me, and a strength that I wanna share with you.
Welcome to the Say My Name podcast. This is fabulous. Episode number 12.
Yes.
12 means new beginnings. It means that your old habits are done serving you and it's time to reach out and grasp what is there for you.
We are so excited about who is on this episode with us. It's somebody very, very, very special to me. It's my sister.
Not only that, she was the catalyst to us meeting.
You're right.
I am right.
About that.
Yes.
Yes. It's amazing. So what's super cool is that Ashley, my sis who's going to be on the show today, was going to be on the show a little while ago. And
True.
It's interesting how things have played out since then. It just didn't align. It didn't work out. And now some more things have unfolded in her story that has made it so perfect to where I feel like we're now at a place. She's now at a place in her story where now it's time to tell it. So I'm so excited to be able to be here and hold space for her to be able to tell this story, because I know it so intimately, and I know that so many people are going to be impacted by this and touched by it, and that it's so extremely hard and very vulnerable for her to be able to share it, that I have so much appreciation and so much love and respect for her for sharing this today. So Ash,
Thank you for being here.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
So Ashley Pasteldon, is that how you pronounce it?
Awesome.
Yes, but it's about to be Evans.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Ashley
Evans. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to change mine to Carrie Lilith.
To carry what?
Lilith.
How about what?
So what? Say what?
I know.
What'd you say?
I think I'm going to change it to Carrie Lilith.
I like it.
Yeah.
It flows.
Here
Okay,
we go,
so
Ash.
why don't you start at the beginning? Talk about where this all started. Where did your story start?
I mean, obviously birth, but
Good. That's a good
I
place
was
to
going
start.
through the birth canal in
Yes.
my mother's vagina.
no, honestly though, it did start at birth. And it's funny because my mom has always told the story of my birth. And she said that when I was born, I didn't cry and I came with my eyes wide open. She said it was like you were just here to learn and grow. And you came out and you were just looking at everything. I feel like this life is definitely a moment for me to learn and grow and open my eyes. I think the biggest turning point in my life happened at 7 years old. I was, first of all, before that, I was actually sexually molested for a lot of my life and in my younger years. And then that's a big thing, but it isn't like what defines me. It wasn't what changed me. It wasn't what made me who I am, I guess. When
Right.
I was,
we both were. So it's so interesting that we both by the same person. So it's so interesting that what it did to my life and what it did to your life. So I love this dynamic that we have.
Yeah.
That, I have my story.
Yeah.
But you have your story.
Yes.
And it's so different.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
it definitely isn't what my story is. I think it was something that I overcame a long time ago. I think what changed me as a little girl was I was 7 years old. I was sleeping in the same bed as you, Carrie. We shared the same bed, same room.
For years.
For years. It was you and I.
Yep.
And I was sleeping and I woke up from a dead sleep. And I knew something was wrong. and it scared me. And I knew I had to go downstairs and check on my mom. I didn't know why. I was too young to even understand what was happening. And I got out of bed and I walked downstairs and I saw my mom sitting at our kitchen table with 20, 30 crumpled up papers at the table, and she was writing a letter. And I said, "Mom, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And she said, "I'm leaving." And I knew it wasn't right. I knew there was something off, and it scared me. And I ran through the house waking everybody up because it was, honestly, I don't know what time it was, but it was very early in the morning. And I was running, going, Mom's leaving, trying to get everybody to come. And eventually everybody kind of woke up and came to, and my mom said, "I'm leaving you, and your grandma is going to raise you because she's a much better mother than me." And in my little kid head, I thought, how could you leave us? And my dad came out of the bedroom, and I was standing at our front door with my arms spread out, my feet spread out in an X shape, begging my mom not to leave us. And I remember her standing at the top of the stairs, and my dad standing right next to her, and me begging and begging because I didn't want to lose my mom. And she was done. And at the moment, I didn't understand. I didn't know what she was going through. I didn't know what my parents were going through. I didn't know where she was in her head because I was too young to understand it. But I knew it was bigger than me. And I changed at that very moment. I changed. I went from being a carefree little girl that just loved life. I was happy. I sang. I danced. I was probably too loud at times because I loved life. And all of a sudden my life changed because it became about making my mom okay. Because I was so scared of losing her. And I think it's a blessing and a curse because I learned to read people because I wanted my mom to always be okay. And so I was always assessing situations. I was always going, is everybody okay with my mom? How is she going to be okay? What can I do? And I was looking at people and trying to understand where they were to try to help her. And to protect her. And I spent the rest of my childhood, the rest of my teenage years, protecting, even the young adult years, protecting my mom. And reading people, assessing. And I remember there was a point, I was married to Mark, and we had moved to Utah, and I was done trying to protect my mom. I was done. I couldn't do it anymore, and I let it go. And that was kind of the beginning of me finding me, because I had lived my life trying to make my mom okay. And I was extremely depressed. I was living a very Mormon life. I was doing everything I felt like I should be doing at that point in my life. I was raised extremely religious, and I was serving in church callings, trying to become a mom, cooking, cleaning, housework, doing all of the Mormon mom stuff. And I lost me. There was like this turning point in, I guess, finding me. It's funny because I was actually very overweight for me. I was, and I went to the mall with my husband at the time and got on a scale, and I thought, God, what have I done to myself?
Weight is protection. Weight is protection. So of course it makes so much sense. Like, you know, you were putting on weight to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So what was the turning point? Like, what made you do that shift with mom, like feeling like you weren't going to carry that burden anymore? Because it's so fascinating, because we both were there for that experience. Once again, like, you know, and I have a very different experience from that. It was very monumental for me as well, and has caused different trauma for me.
Yeah. I think my turning point was I was just tired.
Yeah.
It was exhausting. I felt like I was carrying somebody that I didn't want to carry anymore. And so I made a disconnect with mom in a way. And there was living in another state. We had moved from Arizona to Utah, and moving and getting away from it gave me, I guess, an opportunity to kind of break away from it. So
How old are you?
let's see. It was before Eli was born. He's 13. I'm 38. So 38 minus 13.
Shit. Hold up.
Hang on.
Let me get my phone.
38 minus 13.
7, 6, 5. Okay, 25.
25.
Okay.
I was 25.
Okay.
I was a baby still.
Still young.
Quite honestly,
Oh my
I was a
God.
baby. I was little.
Yeah. But so many, I mean, you started carrying this burden at 7 years old.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot.
oh my God, it's so long that you were doing that. Being somebody who I was there. Like,
Yeah.
I witnessed it. I experienced it. Like, I know you 100% like carried that burden of making sure that mom was okay, and that everybody loved mom, and everybody like accepted her. Like, I saw it firsthand. So
Yeah.
I'm witness. I know. I know that burden you carried.
It was definitely the beginning of me changing me. And yeah, from 7 to 25, I was the same person.
Did you ever have any more scary moments like that where she said something or did something that sent you into a panic? Like, oh no, she's not okay. I've got to fix this.
It was constant. I don't know that there was like a specific thing. I really took it on as like a job, a chore, a responsibility to save her. And so I guess it was constant. There wasn't like a specific thing, but it was constant. So not really, but yes, because it just became who I was. It was what I did almost daily.
You were tuned into her insecurities, so you knew exactly what was hurting her, what was all of it, and
Yes,
so that
triggering her.
what was triggering her, so that when that happened, you felt like it was your responsibility to step in,
100%. I would call family and say, what are you thinking of mom? Are you going to be at this holiday? Are you going to be at Christmas? Because I knew it would affect my mom. And so I would make sure everybody was there and present and available for my mom. And it was quite honestly exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did she, so she ended up staying,
Yes.
but what happened? And did she ever apologize or talk to you guys about it or?
No, she didn't. It's funny because, I mean, I don't want to skip ahead.
Yeah, it's okay.
Because this is where this year has taken me, and it actually has healed me from that experience from my mom, and it's made me open my eyes to what it really was, because I was 7 years old. I didn't understand what was happening. I just knew something was wrong.
And at any moment, mom could walk out the door.
At any moment.
And you had to, everybody had to make sure she was okay or she would leave all of us.
Yes, that's exactly it. And so letting go of her and then this next journey of my life has brought me to where I am right now. So I first had to let go of her and let go of trying to make sure she was okay so that I could finally go on my little journey of finding me.
Yeah.
And it's been a long one. So fast forward, I guess, to, it was 7 years ago. I had, up to that point, I had done all the Mormon things, the cooking, the cleaning, the being the mom, the being the stay-at-home mom, doing everything that I was supposed to do according to what Mormon standards are.
I have just a quick question about that, because you've adopted your children, right?
Right.
So when it wasn't working out to have kids with Mark, did you feel like...
I was a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt... It consumed me, honestly. And Carrie can vouch for that, because I would call her almost daily and tell her how hard it was that I couldn't be a mom.
You wanted to bear children so desperately bad.
And I instead of enjoying life at that time, I was obsessed with becoming a mom because of what the religion taught me to be. It was like you grow up, you get married young, you have babies young, and that's what you're supposed to do as a woman.
Right.
And it was so hard because I was failing. I had spent all of these years trying to please my mom, and she was very religious and very Mormon. And all of a sudden I was failing. Everybody, and myself. And all of a sudden I didn't know what I was supposed to do, who I was supposed to be, where I was supposed to even go, because the religion taught that this is what you're supposed to do.
Multiply and replenish.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when people asked, are you guys going to have kids? Are you thinking about starting a family? When you guys can have kids?
I would cry.
Wouldn't you be angry too? I mean, I would be angry.
I was. And, there was times where I'm like, you have no right to even ask that question.
Right.
Honestly. Because women that are struggling with fertility, it is so hard. In and of itself, it's a hard thing. And at some point you have to either accept it and just go with the flow,
right,
or succumb to it and be totally immersed in it, in that it kills you. Honestly, it does, because you become so obsessed with being a mom that you lose yourself in it instead of just enjoying life. You do. And I wish if I could have gone back, if I could go back right now to who I am right now, I would have enjoyed my time.
Yeah. That's actually what I wanted to kind of touch on, because there's some women who are not super religious. So they don't have that religious aspect to it where, they feel this pressure that they have to do this. They just want it.
Yeah.
Period. Like they just desperately want to have a child, but they just are in a position where medically it's just not happening. So I love that you offered that perspective to it, because it really can consume you, and you're so obsessed with what you're wanting in the future that you're missing just where you are in the present, and being able to just enjoy where you are and just know that it's going to work out. Because I mean, your children are yes, biologically not your children, but oh my, like they look like you guys, they act like you guys, like nobody would even think that they were adopted.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I forget, and I know, like I was there for the adoptions. Like I was very intimately a part of that. And I see Raya and Eli, and I just think that, well, yeah, that's Ashley's kids. Like, they just, so, now you're here and it's like, wow, I can't believe that, there was a time where I was so desperately wanting to be able to experience this. And now you have these children. So to be able to give women who are in this position of infertility and just desperately wanting children to be able to just be where you are.
100%. If I could go back to that time, I would have enjoyed life.
Yeah.
I would have been able to just let go and say, what is meant to be is meant to be. Because 100% my kids are mine.
Yes.
They were supposed to be mine.
Absolutely.
And the timing was what the timing was. Whether I wanted it to be 5 years earlier or 5 years later, it was what it was. I wished I would have traveled more. Mm-hmm. I wished I would have let go. I wished I would have enjoyed life. I wished I would have pursued my career. Mm-hmm. I wished. Instead, I was obsessed. Mm-hmm. Because there are women that I have talked to that say it's only been a year that I've been trying. If you want a baby, it's hard. Mm-hmm. That's it. It doesn't matter whether it's been 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It doesn't matter. It's hard. When there is, as women, when there is this desire to be a mother in you and it doesn't happen, it hurts.
And you think something's wrong with you. Something must be wrong with me.
Yeah.
There's a defect.
And it's scary. And in your mind, you think, oh my God, is it going to take 10 years? Mm-hmm. Is it going to take 5 years? Is it
ever going to have a child?
Exactly. And I would have conversations with Carrie about, I don't know, maybe I need to accept that I'm never going to be a mother, but it is in me. I want to be a mother. I want to experience that. And it hurts. It hurts when you want something so bad and it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's love, whether it's motherhood, whether it's owning a business and making it happen. It hurts when it doesn't happen. It's hard. It's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. Yeah. But it doesn't matter if it's 30 days, 60 days. There's no time limit on when it's hard. There literally isn't.
But I can imagine becoming more and more obsessed as the days go on, because that's what I was. Checking Fertility Friend, reading everyone's posts.
Yes.
Day after day. And the more days went on, the more I was like checking my own fertility and taking 1 trillion pregnancy tests. And I mean, for someone to have gone through that for years, I can see how it's life consuming.
Yeah, it took me 5 years. Mark and I did a lot of research. We did fertility, and quite honestly, it got to a point where I knew I was just done with fertility, that there needed to be something else for me because I wasn't okay with doing in vitro. And, my kids are literally miracles. Mm-hmm. Their stories and how our lives collided is literally a miracle. I had to have a hysterectomy at 32 years old, which is young. Super young.
Why?
So I had endometriosis, and my body just could not get pregnant. It couldn't. It was a mess, honestly. And when I had my hysterectomy, it was extremely emotional for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
because I was young and I knew that having a hysterectomy, I was going to be going through menopause super young, way younger than most women. I had maybe 5 years before I went through menopause after my hysterectomy, which meant, guess what? I'm going through menopause at
Before your
38
40s,
years old. I'm going through menopause. I am literally going through menopause right now. But in doing and going through and talking to my doctor, who was amazing, she doing surgery and looking at my body intimately on like an internal way, said, you would have never been able to have a child. Your body is shaped differently. Never would you have been able to bear a child. And she also informed me that I had a lot of miscarriages because of how used and abused my uterus was. That I had been pregnant many, many, many times in my life. And I didn't know it because of endometriosis. Because endometriosis hides a lot of painful periods, a lot of even miscarriages, because that's normal. And it's exhausting to see what's normal to one person isn't normal to another, but abnormal periods, heavy periods, painful periods, miscarriages were normal to me. I honestly didn't know that that was not normal.
Right.
And so she had actually, my doctor had brought in another surgeon, because when they were doing my hysterectomy, they were scared that the endometriosis had attached to my bladder. And a normal doctor can't do a surgery on a bladder because it's very complicated and they can rupture something and literally ruin your life. So she was
We have
scared.
to have like a pee bag.
Yeah, a pee bag. Yeah. So she had brought in another surgeon in fear of that's what had happened to me, that the endometriosis had attached to my bladder and it was going to be a complicated surgery. And this other doctor that had come in, when she opened me up and was doing my hysterectomy, he said, how many babies has this woman had? And she's like, 0.
Wow.
And he was like, she looks like she's had a lot of babies. My uterus was used and abused through years of me not knowing or accepting what had happened to my body. And I had so many babies that I had lost so many babies. And I didn't even know it. And after my hysterectomy, my doctor had told me this experience that she had with him. It was new and rare for both of them, honestly. And I asked her what that meant, and she said, it means you've been pregnant a lot. And on top of going through a hysterectomy at 32, I also had to mourn the fact that I had lost a lot of babies. And it was so hard. It was a blow, a big blow.
Wow, we could do a whole podcast on just infertility.
Yeah.
And like, this is just blowing my mind, because so many women have this pain
So
of just never being able to bear a child, or just that fear of never being able to bear a child, and endometriosis, and just, I mean,
And
just
miscarriage and that loss.
miscarriages, and
it's exhausting. And I wish, if I could have gone back, that I could have just accepted what was. And that's where I'm at even now in my life, that I could have just accepted what was. You know, my body, from my past experiences, from honestly my sexual abuse as a little girl, was rejecting and struggling with bearing a child. And in my mind, that's honestly what happened. That I couldn't bear a child because I was struggling so bad. And at the same time, I think that there's beauty in it, because I think there's so many, like my little babies, they were supposed to be mine. I was supposed to do adoption. I was supposed to hold my birth mother's legs while they were giving birth to my babies. I was supposed to connect with them on a level that they felt comfortable enough to ask me to be there when my babies were born. Everything in my life has happened for a reason. Everything. And despite the heartache and the hurt from not being able to be pregnant, I was also supposed to adopt. I know it in my core, in my deepest core, like my soul. My babies were supposed to be mine, and I was supposed to do everything I did to get where I am and to get them in my life. And their birth mothers chose me on a deep, intimate soul connection level. They did. Because it was instant that they fell in love with me and I fell in love with them. And
Do you have contact with them?
absolutely. Both of them. Will always. I know where they are. I will always know where they are. There is this deep love for them. My kids know I have a deep love for them. I talk to them on a very intimate, deep level about their birth mothers and their birth families, honestly.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful that you're so open with your children, so that there is no surprise, or there is no like feeling of betrayal, because you're completely and totally open and honest with them. And I actually have met both of the birth mothers.
You have.
Yeah. And it was so beautiful and painful to watch when you adopted Eli, your first. I was there when the birth mother handed him over to you. It was such a spiritual and painful experience to watch her selfishness of handing him over to you. Sorry, yes, thank you.
Selfless.
The selflessness of her handing him over to you. And then just that feeling of conflict between us on the other side of like, this is so beautiful and this is so amazing, but so painful to watch us. And just how do we express our joy when these people are feeling so much pain? The birth mother and the grandparents and or the adopted grandparents. And to watch that, it was just such a conflict of emotions, and it was just such a sacred experience to be able to witness. And I felt so incredibly honored to be able to be a part of that and to watch that experience between you and the birth mother, of just so much appreciation from your side of, oh my God, you're making me a mother.
100.
And thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like, and that, and just seeing her pain and then seeing your joy, and just that mix of the two together was just so beautiful. And just seeing where Eli is now, and just knowing that, like, absolutely he was supposed to be with your family, but like that there was a sacrifice that was made.
100% on both sides. And,
Yes.
it's funny because adopting both of my kids, there was this intense pain and this intense joy on the same day. And it is undescribable unless you are the person going through it. Because here you are being this mom that has wanted to be a mom for so long. And all of a sudden you become a mom. But at the same moment, there's somebody that's sacrificing and giving up something so huge that it's painful.
Yeah.
It was painful to walk away from their birth moms. It was the most painful thing I've ever done. Because I was so happy, but I was so sad. And I don't even know how to describe the two emotions mixed in the same moment. It's crazy, but it happens. My kids have two moms, literally have two moms. And I am their second mom in a way. But when I overcame the fear of that, there was a love and a deep appreciation for the birth mom and what they gave me and what they offered me, because being in a delivery room with a birth mom is, first of all, very unusual.
Yeah.
Second of all, being an adoptive mom holding a birth mom's leg while she is pushing twice with two different birth moms is extremely rare. It doesn't happen, but it's my story. Mm-hmm. And I got to hold and push for both of my kids' birth moms. And I was the first one that got to see him born. Mm. I was the first one that got to see their head crown. Mm. And they allowed me to be the first one to give them a bath. Both of them. And that is extremely unusual. But I feel blessed in that. Mm. I do. And there's a deep love and appreciation for them for giving that to me.
So beautiful.
It is. And I adore my kids' birth families. All of them. Not even just their birth moms, but their grandparents and their birth fathers. And quite honestly, one of the hardest things this year has been that Eli's birth dad died. Mm. And we are super open with our kids about adoption. And we brought him out and told him, because his birth grandmother told me that he died from a stroke at a super young age. Really young. The reality of it is Eli will never get to meet him. Yeah. And I am excited for my kids to meet their birth families. I have held contact with them because it's something that's important to me, because I want them to be able to have that experience, whether they want it or not. It's theirs. It's not mine. I don't get to decide whether that's something they want or not. But but I want them to have it easily accessible.
Have that option.
I do. And I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to go with it and let them decide if that's something that they want.
It's beautiful. That's unconditional love
Yeah.
because a lot of
It's one of the most amazing lessons that you can give them, not just the access to their birth parents, but the fact that you are telling them that the more people that love you, the better. There's no lack here. It's all coming from a
Exactly.
place of abundance. There's no lack. I don't have to try and hold your love
No.
and not let it
You're
go
mine.
just
No.
in case
No,
you
no,
love
no.
someone more. It's the more people that love you and support you, the better. And that's what I want for you.
That is exactly where I'm at. And it took me a long time to get here.
Yeah.
It was not easy. There is a lot of insecurity in being an adoptive mother. There's a lot. And I know that every adoptive mother has that insecurity because you didn't connect with the baby in the womb. As much as you wanted to, you didn't. And so there is an insecurity with that. But if you can let it go and let your kids just be what your kids are supposed to be and let them explore what they are supposed to explore, there is so much love and appreciation, first of all, from them and honestly their birth families. Because their birth families, it's so painfully hard to let them go. It is so hard. I have seen over the years as I've opened up to my kids, as I've talked to them more and more about their birth families, that they are so curious. And it's natural. It is so natural. And I can't take that from them. And I shouldn't. I should support them in it because they want it. They want to know. And
we want to know where we came from.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We all do. And so I guess just get to be like a hand that helps them along their way. You know, and they get to figure out them. They get to figure out their background. They get to figure out their heritage. They get to figure out why they have brown eyes or dark skin or whatever it is that they need to figure out. And I just get to be a helping hand in that. That's it. And I get to love them extra. I get to be another mom for them. And how badass is it that your kids get two moms?
Yeah.
Seriously. I think we all need two moms.
3, 4,
I am
5.
not kidding you.
Yeah.
My kids get to have two moms. And I accept and welcome that.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things that you give your children, and such a beautiful metaphor of parenting in any aspect, in any relationship, is allowing them to be who they are and go on their path. I know as a mom who's been divorced and my ex-husband's remarried, I went through a time where I was so afraid of losing them somehow on some level emotionally, and then had to come to a place where I accepted that these are not just my children.
Yeah.
They have their own path, and I'm just here to love them. And if there's other people that are going to come into their life and love them, then that is all the better, because I only want the best for them. And if there's other people coming in to help them on their way, then thank God for that.
Yes.
And that's a blessing.
Exactly.
But it takes a while to get there. But there's such freedom in that. And I think such a blessing to your kids because they see the world with a sense of love and wonder and abundance instead of lack and scarcity.
Exactly. And I don't think any child, adult should be limited to who we allow into our lives.
Exactly. I completely agree.
There are so many people that need to play a role in our lives. Why should we take that from them? Honestly.
So we're going to jump ahead now to
Okay.
where you left us before I diverted you off of your path,
okay.
your chronological
Way
path.
off.
I know. It was beautiful though.
Yeah, it was
I feel
perfect.
like
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how our podcasts go because sometimes they go on a whole different tangent than where we
Completely.
were kind of expecting it to go.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely believe that wherever our conversation goes, it's 100% inspired and guided. So there is a reason why we spent so much time on adoption.
I feel it.
And I think that it's beautiful because there are women who really ache, like their hearts ache with so much pain around this particular subject.
And I felt that.
Yeah. And that's why Summer and I, like, we let this go in this direction, because I feel like this was absolutely 100% necessary that we discuss this.
Yeah.
That this is something that there are women out there that really need to hear this story. Let's go back to your relationship with Mom. Like, where you were at that place in Utah where you were like,
you stepped
you know
off the
what?
scale.
You stepped on the scale
did.
and you're like, I'm done. I can't keep holding this burden of making sure that Mom's okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that.
So that was a big moment in my life. At that moment, I became somebody that owned me, I guess, in a little way, in a very small way. And I decided that I was my own self, that I wasn't owned by a religion, that I wasn't owned by a belief, that I didn't have to be or do. And it was small. It was very,
that's
very
interesting
small.
because you were still Mormon for a while
spark.
after
Very,
that.
very Mormon for a long time after that.
Yeah.
But
A little spark.
a little itty bitty spark, yes. And I decided that I was going to eat good, that I was going to change. And I started to change. I started eating good. I started exercising. We moved back to Arizona. My sister actually got me into a gym for the first time in my entire life, which is crazy that she's a personal trainer now. And at that time, she was not at all. And she introduced me to it. I lost weight and people were actually tearing me down because I was losing weight. They were telling me I had an eating disorder, which I did not. I've never been in that space, but I respect it and I get it. And there's this like love and sadness for it because I watched my sister go through it.
Yeah. When people do things like that, especially when you're not in that space, it's out of their own fears.
Agree.
Yeah. And their own insecurities.
Yeah.
And
people were telling me I was anorexic and that I was having a problem. And reality was I wasn't. I was just finding me. That's it. I went from sitting on the couch holding my babies because I was a Mormon mom that felt like I couldn't fail my kids because I wanted to be a mom so bad. And they were crying that I wouldn't shower until my husband came home and I wouldn't get off the couch without holding them all day long. And so I was eating Snicker after Snicker after Snicker after Snicker after Snicker.
I love Snickers.
I would literally eat a fucking bag of fun-size Snickers in one sitting.
So fun size. Fun size.
That's a lot of Snickers, though.
That's a lot of
You eat a
Snickers.
whole bag of Snickers in a sitting.
I did York peppermint patties. That was my jam.
I did Snickers, and I would eat like 3 bowls of cereal in a sitting. I was eating constantly. I was eating my life
numbing.
away.
Numbing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I stopped eating so much, and then we moved back to Arizona, and my sister Carrie introduced me to working out, and I started feeling more confident in me. And I went from this baggy shirt, baggy sweat Mormon mom that sat on the couch and ate Snickers all day
Fun size.
to working out, to not eating sweets. I wasn't hiding anymore.
So many of us are hiding behind weight.
Yeah. And I came out of my feeling, I guess, stuck. I was stuck. I was stuck in being a Mormon. I was stuck in being a Mormon mom. I was stuck in being a stay-at-home mom. I was stuck in running errands and cooking and cleaning and being the perfect mom.
Yeah. These like basically ideals of how you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be, and that it's just never attainable.
No. I felt so stuck and so felt like I had to control my emotions in my marriage, that there was a moment that I went and I punched a wall because I was so mad. I was so mad, and I broke my hand because I hit a stud and I felt stuck in my marriage. This is going to be extremely obvious that I'm fucked up because I broke my hand. And I have a little baby, and I'm a Mormon mom, and I'm supposed to be perfect.
I'm this perfect
and I'm
Mormon
supposed to be okay. And I am so not okay. I punched a wall because I was stuck.
You're so full of just extreme emotions that you did
So
not
many.
know what to do with it. It was
didn't.
so bottled. It was like basically like a shooken up soda can that like, you know,
exploded.
all you do is just like pull the top, and all of a sudden it just explodes out.
Totally.
Like, that's where you were.
I was. And I exploded. I mean, I was, at that time, honestly, I'll tell you, I was having an emotional affair. I was done with my marriage. I was hurt. My husband had never been there for me emotionally, and I was searching for something emotional. I was longing for somebody to just connect with me emotionally. And it hurt so bad, because I had gotten my entire marriage from this little 7-year-old that tried to save my mom to this married woman that tried to save my husband and tried to be there emotionally for somebody that couldn't be there for themselves. And I failed. At that point, I was failing because I wasn't saving him. He wasn't being there for me. I wasn't being there for him. It was awful.
It's impossible.
It
You
is.
cannot save someone.
You cannot.
All you can be is inspiration. That
Totally.
is it. You
That's
can
it.
only be inspiration. So you are trying to be and do something that is just not possible.
It was like a wake-up call for me that my life's on this crazy track. I punched a wall, broke my hand. I'm fucked up. I'm literally...
If you don't learn enough from a relationship, you will repeat that
Yes.
relationship.
100%.
Just someone with a different face.
This whole experience has been breaking a cycle. And it's been breaking a generational cycle. But Mark and I thought we worked through that. You know, we tried to be okay with each other. We tried to be in love. We tried to all of those things. And he was too broken, and I was too broken. And that's the reality of it. And I won't play a victim in it was all him, because I was completely broken too. I had been sexually molested as a little girl for a lot of years. My mom was going to kill herself at 7 years old, and I was the one to stop it without knowing. There was so many things.
When you were 7, she was going to kill herself?
Yeah.
That experience that she talked about in the beginning, we ended up finding out that that's actually when she was going to kill herself. And she actually tried
Oh my
killing herself
God.
multiple times.
The night I woke up, like my first...
So she wasn't just going to walk out the door.
No,
she was going to walk out the door and kill herself.
She was going to kill herself.
Oh my God.
And I was the one to stop it.
Oh my God.
So going back to that, Ash, actually, like let's talk about your healing around that, because there might be some women that are watching this that or listening to this that have that relationship with their mom, where they feel this absolute 100% responsibility for their mom's well-being.
Yeah.
Summer just raised her hand.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
You're not alone, Ash.
Yeah.
So, like, how how did you get from that place? You talked about in Utah, you had this kind of feeling of that
Letting go.
breakaway of
Yeah.
letting go to, I mean, that was how many years ago to where you
Lot.
are now. So let's talk about like that point where you go, okay, I can't do this anymore. I cannot keep holding mom's burden. I can't keep having this responsibility of making sure that she's okay, to where you are now. Like, let's talk about that.
God, that's so huge, because a lot of it was breaking away from my marriage.
Yeah, I was
Because-
just going to say, when did you realize Mark was your mom?
Yeah. Oh, no, he was
Yeah.
completely my mom. It was literally this year.
So beautiful.
Literally this year. And it was in a breathwork session with Carrie. Which is crazy and cool.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
so
Perfect.
beautiful.
Oh,
Like,
gosh,
I
so
don't
perfect.
even, it's insane.
Somebody was
honestly.
there.
Yeah,
You were.
I was
that
there.
day.
Yeah. And
But
then it,
Summer
and then
was
it's
in her
just,
breathwork.
yeah. But then it's just progressed from there. Anyway, so,
Yeah.
my realizing that I was in the same relationship that my dad was in with my mom was in a breathwork session with my sister.
It's huge. So you are dad.
I am dad.
You are dad.
In my breathwork session, I saw my dad the day that I was standing in front of the door with my arms crossed across the door and my feet crossed. And all I saw that day as a little girl was my mom. And I wanted to save my mom. And then I did this breathwork session with my sister. And I saw my dad for the first time. And he was exhausted. He was done. He couldn't do it. He couldn't save my mom. He had tried to for years and years and years, and he was done. And that night, I saved my mom from killing herself. I took on my dad's exhaustion and saved my mom. And then the reality of it came, and the breathwork session came as I was in the same relationship my dad was in with my mom.
So you saw Mark and you thought, oh, this feels familiar.
Yeah, Mark, I was saving
This
him.
feels familiar.
Yeah.
It must be love.
And it went from me seeing my dad being exhausted to trying to save my mom, to me being exhausted, to Eli, my son, my 13-year-old son, trying to save me in my marriage.
Isn't it interesting, the cycle?
It is crazy because Mark lost it one night. And this is why I'm getting divorced. This is why I'm done. This is why I have power in being done. Is that I saw my son taking on the same role I took on as a 7-year-old little girl with me.
That's amazing.
So beautiful.
He saved me on a night that I was done. And it is not his responsibility. It was not my responsibility as a 7-year-old little girl. It was not. But I did it. And it is not my son's responsibility to save me. It is mine, solely mine. I save me. I save me, not my kids. Not my kids. They don't have the responsibility to take my husband off of me, trying to take everything, every protection from me to save me. It's not theirs. It's mine. I am the adult, not them.
So I want to honor you in that experience right now, because not very many people have that awareness and experience where they can see the burden that they're putting on other people. So in your case, your children, and be able to take ownership of it and change it and transmute it into something beautiful, and to be able to shift it and to be able to make it to where this is it, this is done, it's not happening anymore. Ancestral, this is not going to continue, and this is not going to continue.
No more
Ancestral.
generations, no more pain.
No more.
Yeah, you're done. It's done. Like you are now aware of it, and you see the pain that it has caused, and who knows how long this has gone in our family. Like we don't know. We do know that, to our grandma, for sure. And who knows how far past that it has been going on with, as far as marriages of children that have had to step in and help. And so you now see that and you're stopping it. So I want to honor you in that, because that is extremely powerful and extremely hard, because you could easily just stay where you are because it's safe.
And it's familiar.
It's familiar. It's not healthy. It's not happy. It doesn't make you feel happy. You're not happy where you are or where you have been.
No.
But you see that this is not healthy, and this is not where I want to be, and this is not what I want to have my children experience anymore. So I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
This is not my highest and best self. This is not the highest and best self of my children or of Mark, of anybody.
No. And honestly, for me, so Mark and I were separated for a year. And there was this, like, I put on him to get divorced. I put on him to make it final. And then, because I was too scared.
To do it yourself.
And we got back together. We tried to make it work. And I'm like, it's me. I'm done. I own me. And I will not do this to my kids. I will not put that responsibility on them. My mom and my dad put it on me. They did not stop.
They allowed you to take it.
They did.
They're like, oh, thank goodness. Someone's going to fix mom. Okay.
Yes.
Because your dad was exhausted. He's like, oh, all right, Ashley, you're going to be in charge now.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. You're 7.
Good.
Take it
this.
on.
Yeah.
No.
Go
Do
ahead.
it.
No.
Yeah.
And in my breathwork session, I saw me as a 7-year-old taking on my mom for my dad. And then I also saw Eli taking on me.
It's so profound.
Beautiful.
And it was painful because I would never
Right.
want anybody to have to go through what I went through at a 7-year-old. I would never want my kids to have to take that on. And my 13-year-old son had to take my husband off of me.
Literally.
And save
Pull
me.
him off of you.
And choke him out. And have him drag him across the house to save me.
Wow.
And my 11-year-old daughter had to call the police. And I could have continued that. But I will not ever. Because it is not theirs. It is mine. And I will end what has happened from generation to generation to generation in my family. It has happened and it continues to happen. And I will not do it. I will not allow my kids to carry that burden because it is not theirs. I carried it and I carried it and I carried it.
It's time to put it down.
You know the weight.
And
you know what it feels like.
Done. I will not let them.
It's so amazing and incredible and beautiful and profound and life-changing for so many people involved.
Yeah.
And not involved. I
Yeah.
mean, this one decision has more cosmic significance than you have any idea.
It's a ripple effect. It's going to affect so many people on levels that you will have never any idea of how much it affects them.
Yeah.
So how did you get to a place where you were able to release that responsibility of mom?
First of all, I had to leave the Mormon church. That was my first step. Second of all, I had to find my love for myself. And I had to go on this crazy confidence journey so that I wouldn't beat myself down anymore.
Wow.
Because daily, my thoughts were 100% negative about myself. And then it went from that to starting my business, which is like a whole different story. and gaining confidence in, I'm not a stay-at-home mom anymore. I can own a business and I can be successful at it. To being successful at a business and having a husband that tore me down daily in my business. He would stand behind me and tell me what I was doing wrong.
Oh my goodness.
Every day, all day.
Yeah, it's out of fear. It's out of fear of losing you.
Yeah.
Makes
He was
sense.
so insecure with the thought of losing me and me gaining confidence in myself that he would stand behind me and I would hold a nail gun up to a piece of wood and he'd tell me how I was doing it wrong. And he'd tell me that I was not good enough and that I couldn't do it. And he was beating me down daily. And I'm like, I'm going to do this fucking shit. Don't fuck with me.
Good for you, because that's a power play. He wants to feel more powerful.
100%.
And you're like, fuck you. I've got my own power.
Yeah. I actually was on antidepressants at that time because there was not, probably maybe a month before that, I was thinking of taking my life. And my husband had never supported me in getting help. Ever. I begged and pleaded. And he never supported me. And there was a moment I walked into his homework office and I said, listen, you're not going to have me if I don't get help right now. I have to go and I have to get on something. I need a moment to just breathe. And I went into my doctor's office and I was bawling and I'm like, I need something. I'm depressed. I'm so sad. I want to die. And she put me on some strong something. And in my head, I said, I'm giving myself 6 months and I'm going to figure my fucking shit out. That's it. I have 6 months to be on this. I'm going to figure it out. And in that time, my husband was bantering and beating on me. And I was also trying to find myself. And I knew I didn't have a lot of time to figure it out. But I went on what I call my confidence journey. And I created a fear bucket list. I created a bucket list of things that scared the fucking shit out of me. And I'm like, I'm doing them. And I made a vision board. And I'm like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to change what my life has always been. And it's been a life of fear. And being owned and controlled. And a life of Mormonism. And a life of trying to make everybody happy. And now it's about me. And so I created my vision board and I created my fear bucket list. And I'm like, God, I'm knocking it off. I'm going to change the way I feel about myself. Because my thoughts were 100% negative about myself every day. I didn't have a single ounce of positive thought about myself in any 24-hour period of time. And I would lay in bed and go, I'm a failure as a mother. I'm a failure as a wife. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm never good enough. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm never
So crazy
good enough.
is that Summer and I both know you. Obviously, I know you super personally, but like Summer knows you really well as well. And we both see you as somebody who just excels in so many things.
And shines from the inside
And
out.
so what's so amazing about this is that so many women are out there and they're excelling in so many things.
Yeah.
And so many women are looking
Totally.
up to them.
Oh my God.
And they're
And
seeing
they're all
them as this
feeling like this.
powerhouse woman, and they're just seeing them
Totally.
as like, man, if I could only be like this woman. But yet, when they're in themselves and when they're alone with themselves, they are in their own personal hell.
Yeah.
Totally.
And they hate themselves.
Oh,
Totally.
so many
And they're
women.
constantly beating themselves up.
100.
And they're just in this place of just total despair and depression and just complete and total hell.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was literally there. I was a hermit. I could barely go to the grocery store and be around anybody, even in a grocery store. I was scared. And then I started my business. I started succeeding. I started my vision board. I started my fear bucket list. And I'm like, I started doing mirror work. And I started looking at myself and I started changing the way I thought about me. And nobody could do it but me. I had to be the one. I had to be the one, the way that I thought of me. Despite what my husband was saying, despite what I thought everybody else thought about me, it was me. And I had to look at me and say, I love you for everything you have gone through. For everything life has thrown at you. I love you. And I had to lay down at night and go, you're a fucking badass wife. You're a badass mom. You can own a business. You can do this, and you have it. And I had to write down every negative thought I had about myself to acknowledge that I was even thinking negatively about myself, because I didn't realize it. I didn't know, because it was so me. I was thinking negative about me every day, all day. And it was just who I was. And when I started acknowledging that I was thinking negatively about me, that I had to change that I changed. And when I started writing down, you are a bad mom. You are failing at this. You are a bad wife. You are a this. Then I could start changing how I thought about myself. Because every negative thing I thought about myself, I had to write something positive about myself 3 times over.
Did you come up with this?
Yeah.
So beautiful.
It's incredible, yeah.
So beautiful. And there's so much power in that. And that's so
inspired.
I can't even get over how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot out there that, and I actually kind of fell victim to it, of like constantly trying to focus on like what I wanted and trying to like basically like avoid or like not even acknowledge what I was actually thinking. And that was the negative. But really, like, there's so much power in actually acknowledging it.
Totally.
And meeting it with love.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, you need to just, okay, no, this is where I am.
Yeah.
This is how I feel.
Yes.
And that's okay. It's okay. Now I'm going to acknowledge it, and I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to meet it with love.
Yes.
And now what?
Yeah.
Now what do we do with that?
We change it.
It's beautiful.
And that's what we do. We change it. In our heads, we go, fucking bitch, you want to fight me?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Because I am this, and I am this,
Yeah.
and I am this, and I am. And you fake it. Literally, I faked it until I made it. I would tell myself, and I would look at myself and say, I love you. And I would look at myself and I wouldn't love me. But I would tell myself I loved me. And I would look at myself and I'd say, you are a good mom. But I didn't believe I was a good mom. And I would look at myself and I would say, you are a good wife. But I wouldn't believe I was a good wife. And then it changed. I looked at myself and I'm like, you are a good mom. You are a good wife. You are a good person. You are a good friend. You are. And I believe it. And I looked at me and I'm like, God, I love you. I love you. I love you because you are. It's not that you are. You are. And I would lay down at night. And instead of going, I fucking burnt the dinner. I fucking failed at this. I fucking did this. I did that. I did that wrong. I did that wrong. I did that. It went from that to going, you did this right. You did that right. You're good. You're beautiful. You're succeeding. You're making a business. You're making people happy. You're beautifying homes. You're this, you're that. And I literally do not lay down at night and have a negative thought about myself. Literally do not. I don't. It has been years since I've felt that way about myself. But it took so much mental training to stop, because I had done it for so many years. And when I stopped, my life started changing. My business succeeded. I became confident in myself. I started realizing that my religion owned me, and it shouldn't have. That I had a right to believe how I believed, to be who I was, despite what I was taught to be. And that was to be a stay-at-home mom that cooked and cleaned and did dishes and
Made casseroles and bread.
made casseroles and bread and served at church. And that is not me. That is so far from who I
We're
am.
not cookie cutters.
We are not
We're
cookie cutters.
And that's so beautiful. That
Yeah.
we're so unique.
Yeah.
And that's super scary, actually. Like, honestly, cookie cutter feels very safe because it's like, you just know this is who I'm supposed to be. You don't actually have to think and feel into who you are supposed to be.
Totally. And
You
I
just
think that,
are this.
You
Yeah.
don't have
period.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it when people feel very safe being a certain way
A
that's
cookie
like
cutter.
that's been basically programmed into them of how they're supposed to be. But God, they're missing out on so much on what they're like, the fulfillment of their life and the ability,
Totally.
like what the impact that they're able to make in this life when they're able to actually feel into what does Carrie want? What does Ashley want? What does Summer want? What fills our cup?
Yeah.
I remember thinking one time, many times when people ask me, what do you like to do? I don't know. I don't know what I like to do. What do
Totally.
you mean, what do I like to do? I just do what I'm supposed to do.
There was a night that I was struggling pretty bad and I was sad, and I went into our closet and it was pitch black. And I said, how am I going to take my life? What do I need to do? Because I'm done. I'm hurt. I don't know who I am. I'm lost. And my husband couldn't be there for me emotionally. And I thought, I'm going to give it one more try. And I went out of my closet and I was crying and bawling and begging Mark to be there for me, and he couldn't. And I knew from my hysterectomy a year before that I had a lot of painkillers in my medicine cabinet. And Mark was sitting on our bed and I was in the bathroom and he was looking at me in the mirror, and I opened the medicine cabinet and I pulled out the painkillers, and it was like my throat just opened up and I swallowed 30 pills in one swallow because I was done. I was a failure. And Mark came up behind me and he said, "You're fucking stupid. What the fuck are you doing? You failed. And all of these things that I thought for years and years were just flooding into my head. My kids flashed in front of me. And I said, I can't. I have to be there. And I was trying to make myself throw up. I was shoving milk down my throat. I was shoving salt down my throat. I was doing everything to try to make myself throw up because I knew I was going to die if I didn't throw up. I had this person that I thought was supposed to love me, that I thought was supposed to support me, telling me how horrible I was, telling me what a failure I was. and reassuring me of all these thoughts that I had about myself. And in a moment I said, I'm doing this for me. And I'm going to throw up. And I'm going to make my life change. I'm going to change from now on. And I started throwing up, and I was throwing up all these pills that I had swallowed. I had literally probably swallowed 30 pain pills that were heavy duty. And there was a moment I'm like, I have to change me. That's it. I can't continue doing this. And I realized at that moment my marriage was toxic. That somehow I had first broken away from a religion that owned me. And now I have to break away from a marriage.
You're almost kind of like going down the path of what Mom did.
Totally.
Of just, suicidal.
I was.
And victim.
I was. I was being Mom.
Yeah.
And at the same time, my life switched and I became Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing the suicidal thing. I was doing I'm a victim. I was doing I'm not good enough, and beating myself down daily, to changing that, and then changing I have to own me and I have to change me, because nobody else can do it but me. It's me, solely me. I can be a victim, and I can swallow the pills, and I can kill myself, and I can die and try to put that on everybody else, but it's me. Mm-hmm. I have to change me. And I did, Mom. And then the last couple of years, I've done Dad. And I was in an extremely toxic marriage, extremely toxic. And although I don't blame Mark, because he came from a very traumatic childhood.
Super.
And I honor and love him for what he went through as a kid. But at the same time, I also realize it's not something that I have to do. I don't have to try to carry him. It's his to own and work through.
It's impossible.
It is. And I went from sinking, and my song being that song that you played for me. Yes, head above water. Mm-hmm. I literally felt like I was drowning, that I was carrying everybody to going, it's yours to carry. Mm-hmm. Mark gets to carry his shit. And I love him and I respect him. And I'm so sad that he had to go through what he had to go through. But it's not mine. And that is totally okay.
It's better than okay.
It is. But I am not a person that's like, you fucking bastard. Mm-hmm. You're this. No, he is hurt. Mm-hmm. There was a point that I had to go, you're hurt and I'm hurt and I have to fix me and you have to fix you.
This isn't healthy.
And it's not healthy. So let me fix me. And there was a turning point in our marriage that I said, I'm done. I can't do it. And I let him go, and it was exhausting. He tried to kill himself 6 times. In a year with me there, jumping out of a truck at 80 miles an hour twice on the freeway, pulling a knife to his throat, a gun, crashing his car into a cement pole. And I had to be there. And it hurt. It was so scary. I would go. And I have to tell myself, if I come home and I come home to a dead husband, I have to be okay with the fact that he killed himself. I had to watch 6 police officers take him down because he held a knife to his throat. And I was scared, and I called the police. And we were in a public place.
And to deal with that guilt of, should I have done it?
And he was yelling from the cop car, "You betrayed me, you betrayed me, you turned against me."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Every one of those times is trauma.
Yeah.
And they took him to a psych ward. And I had to drive home from the mall to my house, bawling uncontrollably.
I remember I was on the phone with you.
You were. And my family had to come. And the moment I reached my door and I walked in my house, I fell to my knees. And I just sobbed because I was so scared. And he was so lost and so broken. And I wanted to save him, but I couldn't. It was him that had to save him.
So what advice would you give somebody who really resonates with this? Either they have a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, a husband, somebody where they feel this obligation to save them. Like what advice would you give them for somebody who, you were that person that felt that responsibility of saving people?
The only person you can save is yourself. And that is the reality of it. You have to let go. And you have to know that their journey is their journey. And that's it. My journey this year has been recovering from it. And it has been exhausting and tiring and beautiful all in the same breath. And there have been moments I felt like I was completely crazy, literally, to where I am now. And it is beautiful.
So where are you now? Like you're just a completely different person who you were
Totally.
last year. Like there's just such a different vibration and feel about you. Where it was last year, it was feeling of victim and, like, why me?
Yeah.
Which justifiably, of course, yes, of course, you almost entitled, like you should be able to wear that badge with pride. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
but I don't want to.
Exactly.
Totally
and so
don't
now
want
where
to.
you are now of just empowerment and inspiration. So what got you from where you are last year to where you are now?
Fighting. That's it. Fighting for me. Sometimes that's all you have is fighting for you. And going, I'm going to be this. And I'm going to heal. And I'm going to make it through the shit. That's all you have.
What's some things that you did?
So I started with Reiki and hypnotherapy. And it was so painful. So dark. Because healing is dark to begin with. Mm-hmm. Honestly, when you come from a dark space, healing is dark. And it seems almost
scary.
Impossible to get to a place of light. It does. And I remember my first Reiki session with Cassie. It was dark. I remember laying there and going, oh my God, I'm in a dark tunnel and there's no light. I don't know how to get out of here. To then there being a peak of light. From a peak of light to, I can dance around my house naked by myself and drink some whatever and be super happy and look at myself and God, you are a badass.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I can dance. I can love me.
Yeah.
I can have fun. To then having actual relationships with friends and going out and enjoying my time out and loving me and just being carefree like that before I was when I was 7 years old, when I switched a flip and became this person that tried to save my mom. I all of a sudden became this before 7-year-old. that could go and dance and have fun and be carefree. And it is not beautiful, the in-between. You know, there's beautiful in dancing and dancing naked in your home and going out with friends and enjoying that. But there's a lot of hard in between all of that. And there's a lot of looking at yourself and going, can I do this? There is. And there's a lot of doubt. And there's a lot of fear in facing it all. And there's a lot of moments of going, I don't know, I think maybe I'm just too broken. And then there's moments of hope and excitement and joy.
As I look back on, my story, when there's more space in it, when I'm able to look back on it and reflect on it, those times that were so dark and so heavy and so painful, I now am able to look at it with so much appreciation
Totally.
and reverence on it.
You go from being in complete darkness to sunshine.
Yeah.
And it happens literally overnight.
And you have appreciation for the darkness.
Totally. And it's a love. Like, I love that moment as hard as that moment was.
Yes.
I look back and I'm like, God, I needed to open the door to darkness. I needed to open the door to what my reality was.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but I accept it and I love it. And because I opened the door, now I have light.
Yeah.
And I have this crazy, crazy amount of hope and this crazy, crazy amount of life. And this crazy, crazy amount of sunshine and rainbows in my life, that you look at life and you look at the world completely differently. I went from complete darkness to rainbows and sunshine. And if I look just a year ago to what my life was, it was fear and sadness and despair and victim and so many negative things, to beautiful and happiness and joy and light and rainbows. And I am so happy. I am so happy. I found me, the me that was lost in all of that darkness, that was there. I knew it was me and it was there. I just had to go through the darkness to get to me. And that's it. I've always been there.
It's beautiful.
I am the most fucking silly person. And I have literally not been that person since I was 7 years old. This last month, literally this last month has been me reuniting with my silly little kid side. And
Keep doing
I
it.
found it with my kids. And it's a safe space for me to joke and play. And they love it. Yeah. God, they are eating my little kid side up. And they laugh and they think it's funny. And I'm like, if they don't, I'm like, what would you do with it? Like, I would be a boring mom if I didn't say, you're going to knock my balls off the tree.
Yeah.
Seriously. And they're like laughing. You're like, you're right.
Okay,
yeah, I love you,
weird,
Mom.
Did my mom just say knock my balls off?
You're going to knock my balls off.
Well, and that's something that, Summer and I really love, like, talking about on our social media platforms, on just really, like, showing people that this is super important. We need to implement play into our life on a regular basis. And that when we do that, our life becomes so much more in the present, in the now, and we just have so much more joy and fun. We're supposed to have fun in this life.
Totally.
It's not supposed to be so serious. Why is it that when we turn a certain age, now everything has to become so serious and so strict and so regimented? Why?
It doesn't.
Why?
And I think it's crazy because, I do totally different things than you girls do. And I think that what you do is completely amazing. But I love to teach classes about woodworking. It's very empowering to women to find something outside of just being a mom whether it's using a power tool, it's extremely empowering, honestly. And I have had women go, I lost me in my life of being a mom. And all of a sudden there's like a life to learning something new and different. I think it just reconnects us to like our inner creative
Feminine
side,
creativity.
badass woman side, honestly.
Yeah.
And women can be so fucking badass. It's insane. We do not know. Most women don't know their power.
Right.
Honestly, do not know.
Well, and I love that you actually brought up creativity, because that creativity is the feminine energy. So to be able to create a piece, so whether it be, cabinetry or a piece
Child.
of or child.
Literally a child, right?
But you're
We
talking
create
about
a child.
you're talking about
Yeah.
Your woodworking. So
Yeah.
like creating like an actual piece, like so either an entertainment center, a bookshelf, or something like that takes creative energy. You have
Totally.
to actually think of, how do I make this? How
Got
do I
the
create
vision.
this?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. That is tapping into your femininity.
Yeah. And I think that women do not realize their power in that. I do not think that they do, because so this is totally changing, but I went into literally a man's world. My business is a man's world, and it shouldn't be. There are so many women that have, because men are good, but they are not creative.
They're doers.
For the most part, they cannot see a vision of what something should be. But women totally can. They can look at a piece and go, you need to add this and this and this and this. It is crazy power that women have
beautiful.
in what I do. I'm like, God, I wish there were more women that do what I do, because they can see a vision that men cannot. There are literally contractors that contact me that go, what molding did you use? I don't know how to create this vision that you created, because they're simpler.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful too. But I wish women could create.
They will.
They will.
are.
Tap
Yeah.
into their creative energy, whatever that means.
Yeah.
However it is.
Yeah.
We got to wrap it up.
Yeah. It's been like 3 hours.
I know, it's so amazing. We could talk like seriously on so many subjects.
This was so incredible and so powerful and beautiful and inspired. Thank you so much for sharing. How do you feel?
Really good.
Good.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. It feels free.
Yes.
Yes. I want my hope, cross my fingers, that there's other women that will just open up to the reality that life is what it is. And we all have a story. All of us. All of us have a crazy story. Not just a story, but a crazy story. And there's so much that we can share with other women that I hope that this is like an opening to more stories.
Absolutely. It will be.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. We love you.
I
You're
love
amazing.
you guys
This
too.
is so beautiful. I don't even know.
Thank you so much, Ash, for being on the show. Like we just appreciate your vulnerability and all the experiences that you shared with us.
Follow Instagram. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook.